So good morning, guys. Ernesto, Rob from OTEN Medical. Good morning and welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Marco.
Good morning, Marco.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Everybody, this podcast episode is called Inside the Mind of a Nurse Inventor, OTEN Medical. So we're going to talk to these guys about what they're doing in innovation and creation of new things that help in human advancement and human health. We're gonna. I'd like to introduce Ernesto and Humberto. Ernesto is a nurse. He has a degree as a combat medic, and he's member of the community maker nurse from MIT. He has wealth of experience as a nurse. He works at a local hospital in El Paso. He earned merit prize for El Paso Inc. And he works. He is a supporter of the. I have everything in Spanish, and I'm translating as I go. So
That's fine.
For all of the viewers. This is our first English episode, and all of our episodes have been in Spanish.
We can do it in both.
This one we want to do it in English because it's easier for Ernesto to communicate in English than in Spanish. But we can mix and match. That's fine.
Yeah, we can mix it.
So also, Ernesto was a J&J Nurse Innovation Challenge competition finalist, and among other things, right? He is one of the founders of OTEN Medical, and he's been incubated at the MCA Foundation, and Humberto is now working with Ernesto as the director of sales or regional sales,
Chief Operating Officer.
There you go, Chief Operating Officer. He also has a wealth of experience on sales and other areas in business development and business direction. So welcome, guys. Welcome, and thank you for your time and taking your time, part of your time, to talk to us and share what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you, Marcos. Thanks for the nice introduction. It's hard to hear it every once in a while, but yeah, I've been doing this
it's hard to top what I've seen on LinkedIn and all over the place because you're very famous.
Yeah.
So I tried my best to synthesize this, but I did it in Spanish and then now I have to translate. So that was hard for me. Guys, let's start by sharing. Now that we're all working remotely, we all have scary stories, funny stories. Do you have one that you want to share with the audience? Something funny that has happened now that you're working from home or remotely? Maybe you were in a meeting and you were supposed to be muted and you didn't mute or something like that.
Well, go ahead, Rob. You probably have a lot more stories.
Maybe I can do it since I've been working remotely for a long time now. Being part of medical device sales and in the telehealth space. It's nothing new to me working from home. But what is new to me is having my family and kids here all the time. I'm used to that nice and peaceful and quiet. Some embarrassing moments is the dog barging in because he sees a cat or someone walking, on the sidewalk, and he just barges in right on the cue. Like when I'm, about to talk and make something, a key, point or something, here comes the dog. And one time it was really embarrassing because it was multiple times. Like I hadn't said anything all meeting long. It was my turn. And of course he came right on cue. So that was both funny looking back at it now, and also at the time pretty embarrassing and upsetting.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of stories. We're all taking care of the kids while we're trying to work because they're not going to school, and they're not going to school anytime soon. So they're jumping all over me while I'm in meetings, and I try to do as much video conferencing as possible, but there's just sometimes that they won't allow me to do a lot of work, and they'll be jumping on me. I have three. So
3 kids?
Yes, so it's all fun. So let's just get started with the subject. have a few questions here that I was wanting to ask you guys about, OTEN Medical and its foundation and how it came to be what it is today, and your vision of things. Where do you see your company going? And I wanted to share with everybody in my audience about this entrepreneurship that that exists here in our area, and trying to motivate people to just go out and do something, right? So can you guys share with us how did OTEN Medical started? Like a little story about your beginnings, where you come from and how do you get to start thinking about all those creations?
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. So I joined the Army 3 months before graduating high school, and I did 9 years in the Army.
Thank you, sir.
Right, I did, thank you, 91 Bravo, which was a combat medic. I transitioned quickly to 91 Charlie, which is an Army nurse, and I began in the ICU setting there. So throughout my military career, I was able to use the GI Bill to get my associates, my bachelor's, my certification in nephrology nursing. And then I'm currently the clinical coordinator for the dialysis units in 2 hospitals in El Paso.
Wow.
So there is where I actually got the first idea of my first invention, which was the remote diabetic foot monitoring system. Seeing my end-stage renal disease patients with diabetes, seeing them having diabetic foot ulcers, that's where I started getting an idea and saying maybe we could monitor them at home, telemedicine, telemonitoring, and granted, this was early 2000s, it was like 2003 when I had this vision. So this is prior to the first smartphone, the first home Wi-Fi. You could only get Wi-Fi at the major stores or libraries. So this is way before the telemedicine came into effect, or I had the early startings of it, and I started building on that. And not until later, like 2014, is when I went ahead and jumped onto the patent writing part of it. So doing that, that whole process in the beginning, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I just knew that I needed to get this platform to help people. Now, in 2007, I won the proof of concept for the Medical Center of the Americas that allowed us to stay here at a dry lab, business opportunities, business support. And then that's when the business started. I started back in December of 2017. And so I established my business, started going to conferences, and in 2018 went to South by Southwest, and I presented with the El Paso City, the support that they have with local entrepreneurs to present their products at South by. And I was walking down the aisles, and the first 5 minutes of ever getting there, I ran into Rob, and he was with another company at that moment, and we just started talking. And we're both from El Paso. We both enjoy the medical field, both nurses. And then I said, well, guess what I'm doing? So I told him everything that I was doing, and he even came to my booth. And it was like a instant understanding and a mutual goal that we both had with the diabetic population and wound care and remote monitoring. So that's where I met Rob, and then we hit it off. We started talking, and he soon joined OTEN team latter part of 2018. And I'll give Rob a little chance to play catch up there, and then we'll continue from there.
Yeah, thanks. Marco, what was impressive is the device. When I saw it, I got it right away. So my background is as an RN as well, and I've been in the OR space, wound care space, and then medical device space with telehealth. So I realize the pain points that hospitals have when it comes to some of the expenses that they incur. I'm talking millions and millions of dollars on medical equipment for wound care. So when I saw the combination of the wound care aspect and then the telehealth aspect all in that one platform, I was like, wow, this is brilliant. I love this. I want to be part of this. So we just kind of kept in touch, and I kind of wanted to see, hey, how are you doing? Can I help you out? And slowly we started and working close towards this, the same goal that we both have in mind.
Yeah, that's great. I had a chance. You were one of the success stories of the MCA when I first came to know the MCA and what they were doing. They gave us a tour, and you were part of the highlights of that tour. And I know that it lasted like for a year or something. That you were the highlight of. I don't know if you're still the highlight. I haven't done any new.
I'm still the highlight. Nah,
Nice.
Of course.
So I got to see your device. A friend of mine was working there, and I got to see your device, and I got to see the idea, and I also was impressed. And I wanted to meet you and say, hey, how do you come up with this? So I know that you have a genuine concern about health of individuals, and what you're trying to do is help, and it is very it is inspiring to see you guys actually do something about it, about the need, right, that patients have.
Yeah,
So
That's nice.
And let me just one quick comment. And like I told Ernesto when I first met him, I think the success that I've had a lot of success, thank God, in the medical device space, and I attribute it to doing right by the patients. If we do right by the patients with the outcomes that we're looking to seek and promise, the profits will follow automatically, right? So that's kind of been our continued mantra.
Yeah, and I totally agree with Rob, because if you're in it for the money, that's the wrong idea. First of all, the patient comes first, and then everything else follows. But I just also want to add that I have the medical experience. I have the knowledge to see where the gaps are in healthcare, and I think that's my gift, where I could see where things are needed and where things can be filled. So Rob joined the team. I had no idea about business management, money, and charts and all that. So he has been, and to this day, been a very asset to the company. But going back on the ideas that I have is that I always been a tinker like you, Marco. In high school, I built 2 computers, and this is from a humble establishment. I just got parts from my friends and stuff, and I always started messing around with cars, especially Volkswagens. I love Volkswagens. My first one was a '74 Super Beetle that I did the mechanic myself from getting some help from a local mechanic as well. But to this date, I still mess around with cars. So I've always been naturally curious, and my wife jokes around with me big time, because in my neighborhood, she calls me the mayor of the neighborhood, because, and I'll tell you something real quick, because I could spot, say if there's a different car that's not supposed to be there, I could spot it as soon as I'm driving down. Missing tree.
That's funny.
A different dog, I could spot it. It just comes to me. I'm like, oh, that's different. So I think having that, and then knowing what I know at work, where I'm like, you know what? There's something we could do better here. There's something missing with this type of, healthcare delivery.
Yes.
I think that's a lot of times where my ideas get sparked, by just being there, touching the patients, touching the existing medical devices, supplies that we're utilizing, and there's a huge downfall on that, because they tell you, they drive it to your mind that you cannot use something out of their, main purpose. You cannot innovate and try. You need to follow manufacturer's recommendations. So right there, it's like yelling at a kid that has a bright idea to stop telling you about a bright idea.
Yep.
Now, what I learned is that you have to do your due diligence. You have to put it in the right pathway where your idea gets made into a tangible form where you could actually test it and see how you could prevent from injuring others, first of all. And then you could start with that idea. A lot of people, they see an idea, they have an idea, they see it, they could realize it, but they stop there because it's too much work to continue with that idea. It's too many obstacles. It's too much money with the patent writing. It's going to take too much of their efforts and time. And I think that's where they stop. And with me, it's been the opposite. I just had so much support from my wife, taking out some money from the 401k in order to realize the patent process. But that's where going back to the question you asked earlier, that's how my mind thinks. I'm always spawning things that need to be improved in the healthcare.
And this development took you to work with MIT engineers on the connectivity thing, right? On the connectivity side of the device?
Yeah, I had already gotten my patent ready, and the MIT, the maker nurses from MIT came to visit us. Let me turn off the light.
Yeah. Timed out.
Yeah, it turned off by itself. So they came to visit the hospital, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Ernesto, come down here," because they knew that I was always tinkering and making stuff. And that's where our relationship came to be, from them coming to the hospital. And their mission is to take the nurses that make out of the woodwork, out of the dark, spaces, and into the light, in order to realize their projects. And that's how I got started with the maker nurse from MIT. And from there on, we started getting into a lot of competitions, and I went into the J&J finalist. I came out in the Minority Nurse magazine front cover, came out on Raspberry Pi, because 2 times, due to the fact that we're using their computing system. And I've been very blessed that, I've received so much attention over the project, but it's been a work in progress and perseverance, and within every step of the way that I've taken.
Yeah, it's also called resilience, Ernesto. So kudos to you guys for keeping at it. And I know for a fact it's not easy. It's a hard path. I was also thinking that so the way that you guys work together, right? You want to keep working on your development, and you need a business mind, a business negotiator, a business person that can help you with that side. And so how often do those design impact you, Rob? Design changes and improvements to what he's already doing. Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, sometimes I got to reel them back. But not often, because, I'm a nurse also, right? So I get what he's doing and why he thinks this way. And I was like, yeah, he's got a point. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I wind up, utilizing a lot of his thoughts and ideas and kind of, okay, how does this work out in the, with product development and in the medical device space. So, and that's part of the main reason why I went to graduate school. So I went to business school here in Dallas at SMU. So I got my MBA there, because I had seen the waste that exists in healthcare. I worked in the operating room, and I would just see equipment being utilized, packages of very expensive equipment being utilized. We'd open it, they'd get it, they try it. Oh no, they throw it away. I mean, just over and over. And I thought to myself, my goodness, I bet you McDonald's doesn't operate like this, right? Every tomato, every lettuce is accounted for. Why not here in healthcare? So that was kind of the main reason that led me to go to business school, so that I could be more effective in kind of, because I wanted to pursue a role in medical device space. So So, having that kind of background has helped me be quick on my feet, right? In terms of thinking quickly and how to position ourselves and kind of putting models together, forecasting models together, looking at suppliers, looking at all the different considerations that a startup needs to take in mind, and then all the risks associated with it too, right? Because, you can nobody wants to have their baby called ugly, but you have to be honest sometimes and say, hey, look, will it work? Will it work? Yes or no? And then we've identified along the way some kind of milestones that we want to hit. Recently with a new product that we've developed, we had that same kind of traction, right? How was it received by the community? Check. It was well received. Good. Was there interest into using this further? Check. How many hospitals have we attained? So, I think he brings a lot of that clinical mindset that I kind of left behind a little bit, but I'm still attached. And then I bring in that business thought process into our team.
It's really good that you mentioned those the rapid adaptation, because nowadays the new businesses, the startups and small businesses like us, we need to do quick interactions in order to improve faster and develop quickly. We don't have, unfortunately, these times we don't have time to get something completed and you develop something and you wait until you have the whole package and everything is done and ready to try it out. You don't have that. You can't do that anymore. Now you have to develop one part and release it to the public and see how it works, see if it works, and get feedback, and then you incorporate that feedback into your next iteration of the product, and you keep building on top of that. I always imagine it as, we have Microsoft Word, and you deliver the file menu first, and then the edit menu, and then the review menu, and that's, you take feedback from the previous menu, and then and that's how companies do it, right? So that's a great approach that you guys are taking that into consideration and you're following. I know I've been part of the MCA startup lab, and just trying to learn the basics of startups and risks that they're facing and how to all the things that they teach over there at the MCA. Big fan of that program and all the teachings, and so it's very nice that you guys are taking all the advantage of those programs, and it it only shows that you're gonna just get invited to more programs, and then soon enough you'll be in an accelerator if you haven't been already. I don't know, but we're part of an accelerator right now. It's a very nice experience. So have you guys to try it? I invite you to try it soon. It's hard, it's hard work, but it's worth it. So that takes me to the next subject. Can you guys tell us about your IV lines products and what this solves, and where does that project development or product development stands right now as an update to the general community?
Sure. I'll get started with the beginning of that. Rob and I went to the 2018 South by Southwest together after we met. I'm sorry, 2019 South by. And we were presenting in a booth and everything, and we met Nick Powley, which is now, or will be, our CTO, and, shortly. And he is MIT engineer grad, and he has history with working with 2 other large companies as well. And he showed me a way to do rapid prototyping, what you were saying earlier, and we ended up hiring him. So my wife and I flew out to Minnesota. We stayed at his home where he does the rapid prototyping, and that's where, I know this sounds pretty cheesy, but that's where I had the vision for the eye line. I kind of knew what I needed to build, because we as ICU nurses, we were doing a tongue blade wrapped with silk to wedge in the ivy lines to keep it off the floor.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about that, and I was able to imagine the design there. So after we finished the rapid prototyping on the diabetic, I call it the DiFoBot, the diabetic foot body system. Then I told him, hey, let's do a fun project. He invited us to drink some wine at his house with his wife. He broke out with a laptop and he did the first renderings of the eye line. 2 days later, I was flying back with a STL file and I was 3D printing them here at the MCA. Now the eye line, the problem that we're facing and all ICUs throughout the United States, throughout the world, is that these lines are very low hanging, close to the floor. They're wedged in between the side rails. The ventilator tubes are, if they're not properly placed, they're wedged as well. There's tugging, there's clutching, and I'm like, you know what, we need to improve this area where we could organize them, keep it off the floor, away from danger, reduce the dislodgement rates, and which is grossly underreported. And the dislodgement rates, meaning like, say they pull on their IVs. So now the nurse has to put in a new IV. That costs money, the supplies cost money, the nurse's time costs money, the interruption of medication treatment is present at that moment. There's so many bad things that happen with that could be easily avoided. So so that's where the idea came by, and we improved on the process that the nurses are already making. And with the eye lines, you can put it anywhere around the side rails and still be able to secure the IV lines, the respirator tubes, and such. So, you know, we started working on this project, and we started donating these eye lines to hospitals. And the first one we donated to was Presbyterian Dallas. That later on, I don't know, Rob, how many, like 3-4 days later, they told you about what the other repurposed use was for?
Yeah, so I've got a contact there that it's been very helpful throughout. He tells me, hey, he sends me a text and says, hey, they're not was intended to be used. And I thought, uh-oh. And then I got a follow-up text message saying they're using it for to place outside the door so that it can hold the lines for the infusion pumps being used outside the door. So that this way, the nurses are conserving PPE, they're not going in and out of the patient room, and they're decreasing their exposure to COVID patients. So the nurses love him. And I thought, wow.
I wasn't expecting something good out of that first sentence.
I was not either. Usually it's like, uh-oh. So I was relieved. And I thought, wow, that is, I never thought of that. I would have never thought of that in a million years. He goes, yeah, so can you send us some more? So yeah, absolutely. We got a few more. We sent them over, and that's how it started, you know, evolving into, you know, the use case being a lot more broader, especially in what's going on right now. Because, you know, when Ernesto, here's an example of that, right? Of how Ernesto thinks. And it's like, he brings me the idea and I'm thinking, uh-oh, let's see how this fits. But for me, when I first saw the eye line, you know, I was thinking, absolutely, there's a fit, right? Because as a nurse, I mean, I remember I've been there, right? I remember going in the ICU as a freshman nurse, and, you know, these patients had 10 lines, you know, plugged, and it was all tangled, and it's intimidating, right? So the first thing you do is try to organize, okay, these lines are my antibiotic lines, regular fluid lines, and so forth, right? Antifungals, I mean, whatever. Now we can organize it cleanly and separate and have quick insight into what's what, and it doesn't move on you all the time, right? So I told him that's the first thing you do as an RN is you do your physical head to toe assessment and bedside, you know, kind of tidying up the bed. So I thought, I think absolutely there's reason for this in the market to exist. So we started looking a little further into that, but it was a pleasant surprise to understand how it's impacting and helping nurses right now. I had another nurse contact me the other day saying, hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up. These things are working really well and helping us manage the IV infusion pumps outside of the patient's room. This has been very helpful. So it's really, gratifying to hear that we're actually making a difference, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely. And we're just gonna share with our audience how does this look like, because as soon as you were talking about that case, I remember seeing a picture that OTEN Medical posted on LinkedIn, and now I got it. Now I got why it was on outside of the door, because I didn't get it at the time. I didn't get the picture until now. Now that now it brings context in my mind, and I see, oh my God, wow, right? Because I know now why they're using it that way. So I'm gonna share what you were talking about. That we're gonna share some of the pictures that you have on your website, so that people can bring that into context and can actually take a look at the prototypes. So what is next, guys, for OTEN Medical? Where are you heading? What do you need?
You want me to take it?
Well, we've been looking at the mold manufacturing, that aspect of the business, and we're making contacts. We've been applying for some grants, loans here locally, and we've just waiting for a response. But basically, is waiting for those aspects to line up in order for us to continue with the manufacturing. That's the part of the stage that we're at. Looking forward is that we do want to keep everything local in El Paso.
Yeah.
There's region, and that's going to be our primary concern and goal to do. Unfortunately, we might have to outsource some things, but our main goal is to keep it here in El Paso. And moving forward is contacting these hospitals that have no idea what we're doing, having them see the pictures. Once the ICU nurse grabs that thing, they'll know exactly what to do with it. Coming from an ICU nurse, and it's going to be instant knowledge of what they could potentially use it for, and that is to reduce the PPE, and overall the most important thing is to reduce the nurse exposure to COVID patients. A lot of these patients are intubated. The machines, the beds that they're at, they're being turned so they could prevent any pressure ulcers already. There's no need for them to go in there every hour to change the IV bags. They could do that safely outside. Wow. And we'll be able to help combat the exhaustion of the PPE and also the infections of the nurses as well.
Ernesto, Rob, that takes me to the next thing. So I know, you have a campaign because you want to donate some of these IV lines to hospitals in need of this. And how can we help you? Can you tell us about your campaign, and how can people in the area can, just pitch in and help these hospitals and our heroes?
Yeah, definitely. We started an Indiegogo campaign to help raise funds. Our goal was to donate as many eye lines as we can. So for backers that are interested in joining, they can visit our website. On our website, otenmedical.com. There's a link to our Indiegogo campaign, which will end in Cinco de Mayo. No coincidence. It just
5 days. Oh, okay.
But you can go otenmedical.com, follow that Indiegogo link, and on it you'll see ability to back us for I believe one's a $40 backing, and then another one for $100. Point is, you would donate. We would take those funds, create these eye lines, and then donate them to their hospital of choice. it would go directly to the ICU units of their hospital of choice that's in greater need. If they don't have a hospital of choice, we can donate it to an area hospital. We look to donate it to an area hospital in New York City.
All right. So I think because this podcast needs some, we usually edit it and it comes out a week after. So because that's ending, I think that we need to cut this part out and then post it before, post it today because we don't have a lot of time, so that you guys can, at least we can reach somebody with donations. So we cut this part and post it today because we need to get this word out. And I know you've been posting it, but you get to reach more people if if I post it and then somebody else shares it. I'm gonna ask my audience to share it, and who knows, right? We're just trying to do this so we know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
so
what? Also, we're still looking for investors. The thing is with a startup, a lot of them want to see a product already being sold, making profit. What are your margins and so forth. So in El Paso, I think we have exhausted all the investors. We pitched to the ones that are looking for startups, but that'll be another thing that we are looking for is investment into the company.
So you're up into investment, okay? Have you looked into any? They're called investors funds.
Mm-hmm.
Have you pitched to any of those? Yeah, you have.
Here in Texas, there's a few that we've reached out to angel investors.
Do you guys do you guys participate in the Math Challenge by any chance?
I've applied twice already, and they denied me twice already. So, but I've been trying to get in there.
That's also a good program.
Yeah.
I applied one time and I got denied one time. So following your steps, Ernesto. But just keep at it. So really thank you guys for what you're doing. And I know it takes a lot of, I can see the pride that you guys portray by doing these things. And so far, you have a great path that you have walked, and you have a great path ahead as well. I wish you the best. And I would like to, just in summary, I know Rob has a deadline to meet. I would like just to ask you, Ernesto, so what is your advice for people that has all these ideas and does not have, or they don't take the chance? What is your biggest advice?
You know what? There's no magic pill for wanting to become successful in a business. I tell my nursing students, the ones that express fears about passing their boards, if you study, you will pass. If you don't, then you won't. So saying that if you want to start a business or just happen to need to start a business by the nature, like my situation, please note that having a clear path of what you want to accomplish is established, and then you execute. I stopped a few things that I enjoyed doing in the past, and I really prioritize things in my life. And the first thing that went out was watching television and working on my old cars. So I tried to allocate all my time with my wife and children first, and then everything else I could cut out of my life. So perseverance. If you can keep a job during the time of the startup phase, then you'll be able to make better choices, have a clearer mind. Yeah. But above all else, patience and creativity. You need to keep those in mind at all times.
How about you, Rob? Thank you, Ernesto.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I think having a product or a thought or a service that is necessary, that there's a need, is key. That's vital, right? If you want to be successful. Once you have that and identify that, it's just a lot of planning and planning for the market ahead to be prepared, right? Because the last thing you want to do is come up with something and then it doesn't sell because there wasn't a need. So, so I'm a big believer in preparing for things, in doing research, doing homework, and as it pertains to rolling out a business, don't wait forever. It's not going to be perfect on your first round, right? Like you said earlier, you iterate each time. You think about it and you add new features. I think that's the biggest mistakes that maybe entrepreneurs make is they wait too long to launch something. You know, I was telling Ernesto a couple of weeks ago, I remember seeing our first eyeline. You know, it feels so long ago. But I look at the eyeline before and I look at our new one and wow, I almost laugh at the progress we made. And we were so proud of our first one. And we got a lot of positive feedback on our first one. But we've made it better and better and better. And as a result, the market has embraced it more and more. But it all came with good planning and research beforehand. So running a business is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts. And you really got to be prepared. So just work on that. Don't let the dream die, and keep looking forward and keep planning for tomorrow.
Thank you both. Thank you guys for your time, and really appreciate your words of encouragement for the people out there, and really appreciate your work and your donations. We'll try to help you as much as possible with the campaign, and really appreciate you guys. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ralph. Ernesto, as always, my friend, thank you for your time, and hope to see you soon.
Okay,
you know, although we can't, but you know, hope to this thing to be over, and so we can grab a cup of coffee or something.
I would love that, Marcos. I would love that.
Guys, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcos.
Take care, and thank you.
Bye-bye.